This is Nick.
This is Jack.
It's Tuesday, TBOY Tuesday, October 29th. And today's pod is the best one yet.
3 today's pods. Wow.
I mean, it just felt that I was channeling it.
The top 3 pop business news stories you need to know today.
Jack, we are 1 week from Election Day, and we've actually already voted.
Today was Election Day for me. I headed down to the town clerk. It was all a very wholesome and patriotic experience.
Jack, I voted a week ago, and California now texts you when they've counted your ballots. Like, you
nice.
get text messages.
I like that.
Very Silicon Valley. But Yetis, in the meantime, Jack and I prepared a total T-Boy for you, Jack. 3 stories for the show. What do we got?
For our first story, Robinhood just launched election betting. You can now bet on the election on Robinhood.
Which leads to the big question. When it comes to predictions, is betting better than polling?
For our second story, would you watch an NFL game in an Imax theater?
Well, a startup called Cosm raised $250 million for live sports in an immersive movie theater.
And our third and final story. We've all been there. You show up to the McDonald's drive-thru and they tell you the McFlurry machine is broken.
I need to speak to a manager.
15% of McFlurry machines are broken right now.
But the U.S. government just intervened to fix that McFlurry problem.
And we discovered that Wendy's is sneakily involved.
True story, wild story. We'll tell you the details.
But Yetis, before we hit that wonderful mix.
Fantastic mix of stories, Jack.
Today we're dropping episode 3 of our new show, The Best Idea Yet.
The untold origin stories of the products you're obsessed with and the people who made them go viral.
Episode 1 was the McDonald's Happy Meal. Episode 2, Nintendo Super Mario Brothers.
So, Jack, we all got to know, what is episode number 3 of The Best Idea Yet?
The wild true story of Birkenstock's Arizona sandals.
The Birkenstock Arizona sandal, the most famous sandal in human history.
Our new episode just dropped this morning.
Now today, Yetis, Birkenstock is a $10 billion publicly traded company.
It's actually the 3rd top-selling shoe brand after Nike and Adidas.
But did you know that Birkenstock was actually invented by a German cobbler 250 years ago?
And his name was Wolfgang von Birkenstock.
That the Birkenstock shoe began as an orthopedic device for injured soldiers.
Or that the sandal didn't take off until it was discovered by a hippie
who started selling it at a San Francisco co-op in the swing in 1960s.
This episode is a wild convergence of leather shoes, San Francisco, Germany, and Hollywood.
So Jack and I will tell you how Birkenstock went from flower power to fancy fashion
to become the most popular sandal since the Romans.
Yetis, episode number 3 of our new series. It's available to listen to right now, right after this show.
So after the show, click the link in the episode description.
It's the best idea yet, so go listen for free anywhere you get your podcasts.
In the meantime,
we do have 3 fantastic stories, so Yetis, Jack, let's hit today's T-Boy.
15 years before this song, 2 boys from the Northeast met in a dorm. They had an idea that caused a cultural storm. It's the best one yet, but the best is a norm. Jack, Nick, that's it. I don't even think they need to practice. 50%, that's a fat tip. T-Boy City on your at-list. If you know, you know, cause we ready to go. We can't wait no more, so just start the show. Start the show.
For our first story, Robinhood, the stock trading and crypto app, is now a betting app too. You can now bet the outcome of this election on Robinhood.
Which leads to a big question. Is betting better than polling at predicting?
Now, Yetis, Jack and I are preparing for the story, and we noticed, funny thing, you can bet on anything these days, right, Jack?
Sports betting is legal in 38 states. You can bet on who wins the Super Bowl and how long the national anthem will be.
Jack, you can bet on the Oscar winner, a weather event, reality TV. Are Steven and Hannah going to win Love is Blind? And will Ashley actually find love? You can bet on it.
And who's your favorite Mormon housewife? Actually, you can't bet on that.
Actually, you can, Jack. But now you can bet on politics, too. More specifically, political prediction markets for elections.
We should point out the government is not a fan of this.
Yeah, last month, financial regulators sued to stop election trading.
They said it could affect the integrity of elections.
But the government lost that particular election trading case.
Prediction platforms won the key ruling in court, so now you can bet on Kalshi, Predictit, and Polymarket on who will win the presidential election.
Which leads to the news. Robinhood, they want in on this.
That's right. The stock and crypto trading app will now let you bet on Kamala Harris or Donald Trump.
And now, Jack and I, we should sprinkle on a little context here. There are some qualifiers. Like first, you must be a U.S. citizen in order to bet on the election on Robinhood.
But we should point out, most bettors lose money.
The White House, always wins.
So on Robinhood, you can now buy shares of Kellogg, you can sell Dogecoin, and you can put $500 on your preferred presidential candidate.
Yetis, when Jack and I saw this news, honestly, we were shocked.
Because Nick and I worked at Robinhood for over 3 years, we know the company pretty well.
And Jack, what was the one word we noticed that the company wanted to avoid back then?
Betting. They did not want to be associated with the word bet.
Totally. Like after the whole GameStop crisis thing, like Robinhood went all about investing, not about betting. That was key.
But now with election prediction markets all the rage, Robinhood can't miss out.
Oh, and this month, election markets raged. Like election markets, they surged for Donald Trump just in the last 30 days.
From 50-50 chances at the beginning of the month to 60-40 in favor of Trump right now.
Now, here's why that's interesting. At the same time that election markets have surged for Trump, traditional polls have stayed virtually the same.
Traditional polls are still virtually 50-50, a dead heat.
Well, it turns out that there was one variable that may have been pushing those election markets, hasn't there, Jack?
One buyer moved all the prediction markets in favor of Trump.
There was one dude, literally like in the country of France, who bet $28 million in 4 different election betting accounts to sway the market.
That's called a whale. He put so much money into bets for Trump that it moved the market towards Trump.
Well, whether this moved the market or didn't move the market, it's almost besides the point. Because either way, Robinhood saw all this, and Robinhood got some FOMO.
They could not miss out on this kind of viral money-moving event.
Now, we should also point out that Robinhood seems to have set up an infrastructure here to bet not just on this election, but any future event.
We read the press release, and the thing they set up was for any event. This event happens to be the U.S. presidential election, but they could use sports betting in the future.
You could be betting on the next winner of Squid Game at the next Robinhood betting event.
You could be betting on whether that couple Nick mentioned that's diversifying is still together or not in 6 months.
If you're not making Love is Blind money, then I don't know what you're invested in, Jack. But the bigger question we know you're asking, Yetis, it is this.
What's more accurate in predicting the outcome? Polls or betting markets?
The answer is our takeaway. So, Jack, what's the takeaway for all our buddies over at Robinhood?
Usually, money talks, but this election may be an exception.
Now, Yetis, betting and financial types, they believe that prediction markets provide better forecasts than polls do.
They believe there's nothing more pure and efficient than the pursuit of profit.
And it makes sense. That's why Las Vegas's odds are more accurate in predicting sports scores than analyst predictions are.
But this election is exceptional.
Because it's quite possible that a bettor's politics are influencing their bet in a way you wouldn't see with sports bets.
In other words, you might be betting on a person you want to win, not the person you think will win and make you money.
Now, besties, let's compare polls and prediction markets. First, polls, they allow one person, one vote, that's it.
But prediction markets allow the person with the most money to vote as many times as they want with their dollars.
Polls, they reflect a cross-section of the voters. That's who gets polled.
But betting markets reflect bettors who skew young, male, and wealthy.
So when you add all this up, Yetis, prediction markets, they may be less about wisdom of the crowd and more about wishing of the crowd.
Usually, money talks, but this election market may be an exception.
For our second story, Cosm is a startup building giant movie theaters for live football.
And they just raised VC money to build more of these, what we're calling mini spheres.
Now, Jack, I should pause the pod for a second and point out, first time we have covered a startup led by a former professional football player. Is this true?
Have we covered Tom Brady's startups?
Let's roll with it, Jack. This startup is called Cosm, but the origin goes back 75 years, Yetis.
Here's the story, Yetis. When the Soviet Union launched Sputnik into outer space, America became obsessed with space.
And this company said, you know what? We're going to build a planetarium.
Armand Spitz founded this company in 1947, building the world's first planetarium.
To teach students about the galaxy. Jack, we got the New York Museum of Natural History Planetarium. You got the Griffith Observatory Planetarium. Can I interest you in the Alder Planetarium in the lovely city of Chicago, my friend?
All those planetariums were built by this company, Cosm.
But then in 2017, Cosm pulled off a powerful pivot.
From education to entertainment. From homework to Hollywood.
Cosm, yeah, they still build these planetariums for like Orion's Belt or whatever. But in July, they got $250 million investments from a bunch of venture capitalists.
Venture capital wasn't interested in high school space teaching. They were interested in live immersive sports theaters.
Jack, apparently the total addressable market isn't fifth graders, it's football, and that's a lot bigger.
Cosm is the name of the new business, and it's a Goldilocks situation between watching a game at home and watching it in the stadium.
This is the closest thing to being at the game, but it's also the closest thing to being comfortably in your pajamas on the couch.
Because Cosm built immersive movie theaters with 360-degree 12K screens.
Kind of like a mini Sphere, like that Sphere in Las Vegas.
But unlike a movie theater or the Sphere, you're watching a live sports event on that gigantic screen.
And the screen is so big, you can basically taste the sweat, which is disgusting, but also awesome.
You feel like you're sitting in like the fifth row of MetLife Stadium.
You could basically bring multiple bachelor parties to this thing.
With all the cheering that's happening around you, it feels like you're at the game.
But they're also serving quality food and drinks into your comfy seats where you're just sitting there wasting away.
With all the buffalo wings and wet wipes around you, you feel like you're watching at home.
So it's basically like Goldilocks of in-stadium experiences and at-home experiences. It's just right.
You might be thinking, is this virtual reality? They actually call it shared reality because you're watching with 700 people.
Yeah, so like if you start doing the wave in this thing, Jack, your buddies, everyone around you, they're going to start doing the wave too. Are we doing this?
If you start a chant, the audience might join you.
And here's the news. Cosm just scored a deal to show every single NFL game in their epic live movie theaters.
What we're saying is Cosm is about to become a microcosm of the NFL schedule.
Remember what we said, the CEO is a former NFL football player.
So every Thursday, Sunday, and Monday night, Cosm theaters are going to be packed with football fans.
They already got these in Los Angeles and Dallas. Atlanta, they're coming at you next with 2 of them. So Jack, start doing the wave. And what's the takeaway for our buddies over at Cosm?
Where there's surplus demand, serve the surplus.
Serve the surplus, baby. Yetis, most interesting thing to Jack and me about this story, the location choice. Because the Los Angeles Cosm, it's actually right next to Los Angeles' NFL and NBA stadiums.
Of all the places, why would they build a fake mini stadium theater thing right next to the real stadium next door?
Well, Jack and I think we know the strategic answer. It's because demand to go to live sports is greater than ever, so ticket prices are higher than ever.
SoFi Stadium, it only holds 70,000 people. 170,000 people probably wanted to go to that game.
So Cosm is serving the surplus.
Fans are probably showing up for the tailgate scene outside the stadium. And then when the game begins, they're going into Cosm to watch the game.
Exactly, Jack. And by selling tickets to their similar experience for 1/10 the price of the actual game,
that's a good value proposition.
There is a surplus that's serving.
We've seen this happen in travel. Like if there's excess demand to travel to London, Travel Liverpool will buy the ads for when people Google London.
We see this in the food industry. Like if a new restaurant opens next to a successful restaurant, the new restaurant succeeds because a lot of people can't get into that successful restaurant.
It's an overlooked opportunity in business.
Yes.
Find something with sold out demand and offer a secondary solution right next door.
Perfect. Because where there is surplus demand, serve the surplus.
Serve the surplus.
Hey Yetis, if you're a bestie, take a sec and hit that subscribe button.
And like this video while you're at it. If you leave a comment, by the way, we'll read it.
For our third and final story, for 30 years, McDonald's McFlurry machines across America have been broken.
But the US government just intervened to fix them, and the story is wild.
Jack, let's whip out the whiteboard here. The airplane, the iPhone, the seedless watermelon.
The McFlurry. This is a grand list of the greatest inventions of the 20th century.
Yetis, the McFlurry was invented in 1995 by a franchisee up in Canada.
They basically tossed Oreos into their blender with ice cream and tasted the miracle.
Yeah, it was a miracle. But the key to the McFlurry innovation, what was it, Jack?
It's a spindle. It's a hollow spoon you put into the milkshake that blows air out some holes, so it whips it up like a tornado.
And McDonald's loved that because it was efficient and cost effective. The spoon also mixed the milkshake.
They actually got rid of the spoon, but R.I.P. McFlurry spoon.
Story for another pod. In the meantime, Yetis, the McDonald's McFlurry has experienced 30 years of drama.
Because the machine is constantly broken.
It's always out of service.
There's actually a website called McBroken.com that will show you a map of your local area and show you whether the McFlurry machine works or not.
According to this McBroken map, 15% of all McFlurries in America are broken.
17% in Houston are broken, 20% in San Francisco are broken.
And in New York State, 32% of McFlurry machines are broken.
The McFlurry mayhem has gotten so bad, the United States federal government just intervened.
And Jack, we got to sprinkle on some context.
The reason the machines are always broken goes back to an innovative digital law from the 1990s.
McFlurry machines, they are fickle, aren't they, Jack?
Every week, they actually need to be cleaned top to bottom, and it takes 4 hours. All the machines are made by one company called Taylor, which controls both the manufacturing of the machines and servicing them.
And interestingly, Taylor, because of this situation, has a monopoly on fixing.
It's all thanks to the Digital Millennium Copyright Act.
The DMCA, a 1998 law that is meant to protect early internet companies.
If a hardware company has software with the hardware, only the hardware company can fix the software.
And since Taylor was a hardware company that also made software for these McFlurry machines, they're the only ones who can control how they're fixed.
Taylor loves these broken McFlurry machines, by the way.
Oh, yeah, they do.
They charge $315 for a 15-minute service appointment. Taylor could make the machines easier to fix, but they choose not to because they make so much money with servicing.
So what Jack and I are saying, Yetis, is that 1 out of 7 McFlurry machines is broken today because of a digital law from nearly 25 years ago.
There's nothing Ronald can do about it. If some go-getter in the kitchen tries to fix it, they're actually breaking the law. Until now.
Here's the news. On Friday, the U.S. Copyright Office granted an exemption to that law when it comes to the McDonald's McFlurry machine.
So now, any repairman can fix McFlurry machines. No more excuses.
Heroes do exist, Jack.
The guy in the back, just grab a screwdriver and get to work.
So, Jack, what's the takeaway for our buddies over at McDonald's?
This is a case study in underdog advantage.
Funny thing, Yetis, Jackson, my favorite part about this whole story, it isn't just the feeling of justice from the right to repair.
It's actually that website we first mentioned at the beginning, McBroken.com. If you go to McBroken.com, it's not just going to show you the McDonald's in the area, it's also going to show you the Wendy's in the area.
And that we thought was strange. Like, why is a website that highlights McDonald's weaknesses also highlighting Wendy's strengths?
My local McDonald's McFlurry machine is broken, but Wendy's Frosty machine works just fine.
Jack and I got curious about this situation, so we dug into the website further.
It turns out McBroken.com is run in partnership with Wendy's.
That's right.
Basically a marketing prank.
Yeah, Wendy's just punked McDonald's with this website pointing out all the McFlurries that are broken.
And we love it because McDonald's is worth like 50 times more than Wendy's. It's nice to see the little guy get a few punches in once in a while.
And that was our insight here. Like, if McDonald's had created this website to mock Wendy's, like, that wouldn't be funny.
That'd be punching down. That'd be bullying.
But Wendy's is capitalizing on its smaller size and doing it at scale.
The reason we're delighted to hear that Wendy's created this website is the underdog advantage.
And if you're an underdog, you should take advantage. Jack, could you whip up the takeaways for us for TBOY Tuesday?
Robinhood is now letting you place bets on the U.S. presidential election.
Usually, betting markets predict best, but this election may be an exception.
For our second story, it's Cosm. They're building a sports viewing coliseum. Not just one, a bunch. They're basically IMAXs to watch the Eagles.
Because there's surplus demand to go to sports games, and Cosm is serving the surplus.
And our third and final story is the U.S. Copyright Office. They intervened to let anyone fix a McFlurry machine.
And honestly, our favorite part of this story was Wendy's role, because Wendy's flexed their underdog advantage.
But Yetis, this pod's not over yet. Here's what else you need to know today.
First, Apple just released its first ever AI update, Apple's artificial intelligence in iOS 18. It's kind of limited right now, but Apple's AI will help you like format, reword, and optimize your text messages.
You can also edit out the stuff you didn't like from that photo. It can summarize emails and text chains and summarize notifications. Spoiler, your Uber driver's here. You have a missed call from your mom, and you have 73 political text messages.
And second, the Washington Post lost 200,000 digital subscribers after its decision to not endorse a presidential candidate.
The decision last week was reportedly an order from owner Jeff Bezos. According to NPR, they lost 200,000 subscribers, which is 8% of the Washington Post's 2.5 million subscribers.
And finally, Game 3 of the World Series happened last night, but we found a wild stat about viewership.
Despite the huge time zone difference, more people watched Game 2 in Japan than in the United States.
We repeat, 16 million people watched the World Series in Japan compared to just 13 million in the United States.
Shohei Ohtani. He is a national ambassador.
Now time for the best fact yet. This one sent in by Jennifer from lovely Hagerstown, Maryland.
Election cakes. Baking a cake for Election Day was once an American tradition.
That's right, Eddie's election cakes. They were connected with Hartford, Connecticut, where they were baked throughout New England as early as the 1796 presidential election.
They were called muster cakes because you shared the cake with neighbors to muster a few more people to get to the voting booths, I guess.
Sadly, Americans don't bake cakes anymore for elections, which is painful. Even though cakes are nonpartisan, everyone loves buttercream, and they would probably unite the entire country.
Election cakes. Bring back that bygone era.
Frosting for President 2028. Yetis, you look fantastic for TBOY Tuesday. And Jack, what, if you are a bestie, should you do right after this episode ends?
Click the link in the episode description to listen to the best idea yet. Episode 3 about the Birkenstock sandals is live.
The untold origin stories of the products you're obsessed with. And episode 3, it's on the Birkenstock sandal.
The Birkenstock was nothing until it came to San Francisco, right in time for the hippie movement.
And now, Jack is their biggest buyer of Birkenstock sandals.
Nick and I will see you tomorrow. This is Jack. I own stock of Birkenstock. Nick owns stock of Nike, and we both own stock of Robinhood.
Yetis, enjoy the best idea yet after this, and Jack and I can't wait to chat with you tomorrow. And before we go, congratulations to Yeti Enoch Coronado down in Waco, Texas, who just got a real estate license and is buying their first home.
Congratulations to Alana and Vish in New York City for getting married. And shout out to Atlas Buds,
who was there to witness it all. Who's a good couple. And Carrie Mannion down in San Mateo, California, just got engaged to Ryan over the weekend. Ryan got down on one knee. Guys, let's see some ring pics.
Congratulations to Scott Bergman of Norwalk, Connecticut, who just launched a product, the best Tarot deck yet.
And a happy birthday and congratulations to Genesis, whose quinceañera was over the weekend, and it was the best party yet. You gotta serve the surplus.